In this episode, I'm going to give you 3 thoughts from Exodus 20, verses 18 through 21. Now, when all the people saw the thunder and the flashes of lightning and the sound of the trumpet and the mountain smoking, the people were afraid and trembled. They stood far off and said to Moses, "You speak to us, and we will listen. But do not let God speak to us, lest we die." Moses said to the people, "Do not fear, for God has come to test you, that the fear of him may be before you, that you may not sin." The people stood far off, while Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was. This passage of scripture comes right after the Lord gives the people of Israel the 10 Commandments. And the people, they have been gathered around the mountain. They have heard the Lord speak his law for his people. Here are 3 thoughts from Exodus 20, 18 through 21. Thought number 1, the Lord is terrifying. I hear all these people talk about how they've had this experience with God where he shows up and he just gives them this great sense of peace. Okay, that isn't how God demonstrated his presence to the people of Israel as they were gathered around Mount Sinai. No, the people of Israel, as they're gathered around Mount Sinai, as the Lord gives his word to them, as he is thundering from the mountain, the people are terrified. The Lord is terrifying because they had already seen all of his plagues poured out on the nation of Egypt. They are hearing his thunderous voice from the mountaintop. The Lord is terrifying. And when people talk about the Lord's presence as being something that is always calming and comforting, I don't think they're taking into account that sometimes the Lord's presence is absolutely terrifying. Thought number 2, his terror prompts fear. So the response that you have to being in the presence of God is fear. The people of Israel were absolutely horrified. They were so horrified that instead of hearing the voice of God, they went to Moses and they asked Moses, "Moses, you be the one to talk to us. You talk to God, and then you tell us what he says. But we don't want to hear God's voice anymore because there is too much fear. We're overcome by it." The sound of the Lord, seeing all his majesty up on the top of the mountain, it is too much for us. The Lord's terror prompts fear in the heart of the people of Israel. Thought number 3, fear encourages obedience. Fear encourages obedience. Here's the reason why it is a good thing to have fear of the Lord. Because your fear of the Lord will prompt you to obey his words. It's kind of like the fear that a child has for their parents when the kids are little. When they're little, the kids are afraid of mom and dad. Why? Well, because mom and dad have the power to punish them. And so what do the little kids do? They obey the things that their parents say, so that way they avoid punishment. Fear encourages obedience. Fear is also something that will prompt us to behave in a way that will keep us from incurring the wrath of God. So when people come up and they say fear is a terrible thing to experience, I'm going to have to disagree and point out that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Why? Because the fear of the Lord recognizes his great power, authority, and control in the world. These 3 thoughts come to you from Exodus chapters 17 through 20. If you'd like to join me reading through the Bible, join the Facebook group Through the Bible, where we are reading through the scriptures together.